In this video, you're going to learn how you can record a PPC macro in Excel to calculate the important metrics that you want to analyze every time you download your data from your campaigns in Google Ads. To easily analyze that data in Excel, first we will need to download the data from Google Ads. Now, to do that, we will need to go into our Google Ads account and select the report option here on the top right hand side of your Google Ads account. So once you click on the icon, you will see these three options, and from these options you will click on reports to land on a page which will be similar to this. For the purpose of this video, because we are going to download our data to analyze it in Excel, we will select custom, and this will show us the various options that you can use to analyze your data. Because we need the data in a table format, we will select table, and that will create a new report for us. I have already created a report here. As you can see, we have the campaigns at the row level. So because we will be looking at the campaign level data, and these are the metrics that you will need to select when you will be downloading your data to analyze in Excel. Now these metrics are important for you to analyze, and these include clicks, impressions, CTR, average CPC, conversions, cost per conversion, and conversion rate. So once you have these metrics selected, you can choose whichever dimension you want. For example, you can look at the search keyword level data. You can simply just drag and drop that data here, and you can see, okay, which keyword of which campaign provided how many clicks and all these different metrics that you are looking on the right hand side. But for the purpose of this video, we'll just get rid of the search keywords and we look at the campaign level data. Once you have selected the right dimension and the right metrics from the right hand side, you will simply need to go ahead and download this data. So once your campaigns data is downloaded and you have opened your data in Excel, your report will look something similar to this. It will have your campaigns data here with all your different campaigns and the different metrics that are related to those campaigns. So in order to create a pivot table, first we will need to get rid of the top two rows from here. So we'll just select these two rows and delete them. Once the top two rows are deleted, we will also need to delete some other metrics from our table here, which includes the average metrics, because if you use the average metrics in a pivot table, it would not calculate those correctly in your pivot table. So these metrics include your CTR, your average CPC, cost per conversion, and conversion rate. Just get rid of these options because we will need to calculate these metrics manually. So once those options have been deleted, we will go ahead and create our pivot table. So before we go ahead and create our pivot table, the first thing that we will need to do is make sure that we have the developer tab options available here. If they're not appearing on your version of the Microsoft Excel, what you will need to do is go on to File in the menu and then go into the Options tab. This will open this dialog box, and from here you will need to go into Customize ribbon. And from here, just make sure that you have the developer option checked here. Once you have the developer option checked, press OK, and you will see all these different options appear with under the developer tab for your Excel spreadsheet. Now we will go ahead and create our pivot table. To do that, we will go into Insert and select Pivot Table. This will open up this dialog box. Just press OK on this one because you do not want to create your pivot table on an existing worksheet, because you want to keep your data clean in different sheets for you to come back to it, and it's a lot more easier to manage. So just keep it like this and press OK. This will open up a new sheet for you, and this will create a pivot table with your all the different metrics and dimensions that are in your data on the right hand side. You can drag and drop these options here, so your metrics will go under rows, and your dimensions will go under rows, and your metrics such as clicks, impressions, they will go under values. So before we go ahead and do that, we will first need to record a macro to calculate our average metrics. And the reason we will calculate our average metrics, as I have explained earlier, is because once you create a pivot table, the average metrics such as CTR, conversion rate, cost per lead, or CPA, these metrics get calculated incorrectly once you create the pivot table. So to get the right data, you have to manually record a macro. So to do that, first we will go into Developers tab and click on Record Macro. So because we are recording this macro for Google Ads, we will give this a name called Google Ads. Make sure there is no space between the two words that you're adding, and you can also give this a shortcut for you to come back to it and press the shortcut key, and it will automatically calculate all these options for you. The other thing that you want to make sure is that you store this macro in a personal macro workbook rather than this workbook or new workbook. So press OK. The macro has started recording. So to calculate our metrics, first we will need to go into the pivot table analyze option here, and then go to fields, items, and sets, and select calculated field. So once this dialog box opens, we will need to first calculate our CTR. So for our CTR, we will need to enter this formula to calculate the CTR, which is clicks divided by impressions, and press OK. So that will calculate your CTR here. The second metric that we will calculate here is the conversion rate. So I'll call it conversion rate. So your conversion rate will be your conversions divided by the number of clicks, and you just insert that field here and press OK. So that will calculate your conversion rate. Then we'll go back to this option and select calculated field and create our calculation for average CPC. I'll just give this name average CPC, and to calculate our average CPC, the cost divided by clicks, and press OK. And lastly, we will calculate our CPL. So go back to the calculated field and enter CPL. And for our CPL, it will be costs divided by conversions. And that will calculate our CPL here. So once you have calculated these metrics, you need to go back into the Developers tab and press Stop Recording. So now your macro has been recorded. You can go into the macros option here, and you will see that this macro has been recorded. So once your macro has been recorded, you can then format these metrics to the right formatting. So for CTR, you need to go back into home. You can select percentage because CTR is a percentage metric, and then just add the number of zeros here. Again, the conversion rate is a percentage metric. You can just add more decimals numbers to it. And then for average CPC, this is a currency metric. You can select the currency metric there, and then again for CPL, it's a currency metric. So once you have calculated these metrics, you can then drop your campaign or your search keywords in the rows column, and this will provide you the CTR, conversion rate, average CPC, and CPL for each individual campaign accurately. So now to test that your macros have been recorded correctly for your pivot table, what you will need to do is go back into the campaigns data that you have, and copy all the data, maybe open a new Excel spreadsheet, paste the data there, insert the pivot table, and press OK. And then I'm going to intentionally create an error message here just to teach you guys how to deal with that error message if that happens. So if I go ahead and press my shortcut key, which is Control G, it'll give me this error message. The reason it's giving me this error message is because if I click on debug, when I recorded this macro on pivot table 2, whereas if I go back into my Excel sheet, this pivot table's name says that it's pivot table 4. So I need to change it back to pivot table number 2. So I need to then close this window here. And once we have changed this back to pivot table number 2, you simply need to press Ctrl plus G again, and it will automatically go ahead and calculate those metrics for you. So it doesn't matter whichever data that you have, once you have these metrics recorded, every time you download your Google Ads data and you want to analyze it, you don't have to go through the whole process again. You can simply press the shortcut key in your pivot table, and it will go ahead and calculate those metrics for you. So now once these average metrics have been calculated, you can analyze your campaign by dropping your campaign in your rows here, and it will show you the CTR for each, for a CTR, conversion rate, every CPC, all the average metrics here for individual campaigns. As I mentioned, you can then format them as per, depending on what kind of metric that is. If it's a percentage metric, then it'll be a percentage. If it's a CPC or CPL metric, then you change that to a currency metric. And that's how you record a macro and analyze your data quickly in Excel. I hope you have found something useful in this video. If you have any other questions, then feel free to leave your comments below, and I'll create some other videos based on your questions. You can also watch my other videos related to Google Ads. Also, if you haven't, then please subscribe to this channel, as it motivates me to create more useful videos for my subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.